Welcome to episode 2 of the Elite Health Podcast. I'm Azri. I'm teaching you how to build muscle and lose fat with the help of our guests on this podcast to improve your life, improve your mindset. So if you want to learn more, stay in the community. And today I'm joined by Brad Willis, a good friend of mine from Dubai. We have met in the mastermind and he's an incredible 23-year-old, same age as me, and has achieved so much in life and in bodybuilding. So Brad, he is not just a one-trick pony. He's got a lot off his sleeves and a lot to uncover. Give us a little introduction into yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Brad Willis. I'm 23. I'm from the UK. You know, I've been bodybuilding since I was around 16 years old, so I started off young. And I know you started off, young as well. We're both the same age. So, like I say, bodybuilding is my passion. Bodybuilding is what I do. And again, I believe in whatever you do in life, just focus on one thing and master your craft, and that's what I'm trying to do.
100%. You've become the best of the best. Give us a little overview on your titles, what you've actually achieved as well in your bodybuilding career. So you're also popular on Instagram as well, and that's something that you've built up to where it is right now.
Yeah, so I started competing. First of all, I started bodybuilding when I was 16. I first competed when I was 17. As we all start, as a local competition. So I started off in local competitions, built up. Winning all the local competitions around my area, which is back home in the UK in Newcastle. I pretty much won every junior title that's there. Winning from the local shows, winning to the British title, won the world. We won everything on a junior level, then moved into the men's.
That is absolutely insane. If you could give us the one thing that helped you start your fitness journey, I think this applies to everyone. I really don't think it matters what age you are, as long as you're getting started and making the change. So what was it that made you make the change?
What made me make the change into bodybuilding is a really good story because, I've always played sport at a high level, and then obviously I did bodybuilding at a high level. So before I started the bodybuilding, I was into football. So soccer, that was watching from America. So I was into football, and I used to play at a high level. And I used to have a problem with my leg when I used to play football, where there was always a problem where my knee used to swell all the time. So long story short, the physiotherapist kept telling me, I need to start training my legs. I need to start building up my legs, building up my glutes, especially to support the stabilization of the knee. And I would always put it off. I was always one of them would say, yeah, I'll do it. The problem kept happening. I never used to do it. I never used to take action. And then one day, the problem becomes so bad. I was like, I'm going to start to train. I originally went to the gym with my brother for the first time. I was around 16. We did some legs, we did some chest, and I always remember it was the best feeling in the world, just being when you go somewhere and you believe you belong there. And that was actually how I originally started bodybuilding. So I just started weight training just to support my football, and then after that I just become so passionate about it, I actually put the football to one side and just was tunnel vision on the bodybuilding from that day.
Love to hear it. And I always say it's always the fear of the first step that stops people taking the first step. Fear is a big thing in stepping up at every stage in your life, and you know that. So how did you really overcome fear in not just bodybuilding, in your life and everything that you've done? You're a 23-year-old with the freedom to live where you want, do what you want. So how did that really come to fruition?
I think when it comes to overcoming fear, anything you do in life involves risk. And I believe no risk, no reward. And I've always had the mentality of, you set out, you must achieve it. I always say I'm scared of failure. So no matter what I do, whether I do bodybuilding, whether I do football, whether I do business, I'm scared of failure. And, I'm not going to turn up somewhere and give 50%. I have to turn up and give 100%. And that's whether it's bodybuilding, no matter how many times it takes to train, no matter how many hours it takes to succeed in business, you have to do it. And I think if you're willing to put in the effort, that you will overcome the fear, because you can outwork fear. People are only feared of failure, and what breaks failure is hard work and passion, and I believe you will always do it.
So you've done incredibly well at that and really building the momentum as well to continuously push past the barriers. And I think that that's what builds the thick skin for you to be able to do it again and again and again, right? Because it doesn't seem as hard the second time, third time, fourth time that you're pushing past into that fear. So what helped you along your journey, and what kind of obstacles have come up on your journey, and how did you overcome those?
Yeah, so, when I originally started out in bodybuilding, I would like to say I had an extremely successful streak. From every competition that I did, I won. From every kind of sponsor behind me and supporting me, I lived a very, very good kind of teenage life, of success. And I believe, it's great, you learn a lot of things, but I believe you learn more when you lose. You learn more from your losses than you do from your wins. And when I was around 20, that's when I started to run into some kind of major obstacles of injury leading to surgeries. You know, I've had two knee surgeries, and that's not from kind of training aspect. It's more from a genetic aspect. You know, and just running into injury after, you know, not being able to do what I only do. Like when you bodybuild full time, I always say this, like, you can be from hero to zero very quick because you rely on one thing. And due to the injury, you know, that's obviously when I was 16, like I started off in a normal job when I was 15. You know, going back to kind of the schooling times, you know, schooling was not for me. You know, it personally was not for me because I knew what I wanted to do in life from the age of 15. You know, so I was a dropout in school and I started working when I was 15. But it's still the 9 till 5 also was not for me. So I started the bodybuilding at 16. I worked up, I built my physique. You know, from 16, that's when I got my first ever paid sponsorship, which I'm pretty still confident to this day is probably the youngest guy ever to be on a paid salary at 16 years old to bodybuild. You know, and it wasn't great, but it's a salary of where I can buy my food. And then since then, you know, I worked up, and I was a sponsored athlete. You know, I was living off sponsorships because I marketed myself very well up until the age of 20. And that's when I started running into injuries. That's when my training had to really scale back after my show. And yeah, like I say, that really opened my eyes to start becoming a brand of my own. You know, not just promote other brands, and of course I still, you know, work with close sponsors to this day, but I'm also a brand of my own. I'm a name of my own now. I built up my own name, and that's something that's going to last forever. So, you know, I kind of scaled off track. So the question that you asked was, what was the question that you asked? And now,
No, you're absolutely fine. And I think that is like a really good topic to go into as well. So we did discuss this as well. Most people are narrow-minded in terms of what they can actually achieve because everyone's got the same excuses. Like, I don't have time. This is too hard. It won't work for me. And this person is better than me because of X, Y, Z, right? They have better genetics. They have more time in a better position, whatever it is. So how did you scale past that? Listen to yourself in terms of what you wanted to achieve, and what did you really find worked for you?
Yeah, so like when you say about looking at other people that they have better genetics and things, you know, it's all down to comparison. And I think comparison breaks a lot of people's dreams of what they can actually achieve themselves. You know, and this is something I always say to people, like, your journey or someone else's journey, yes, I appreciate, I support it, I follow it, but it's got nothing to do with my journey. You know, I think if everyone stays in their own lane and concentrates on what they do on a day-to-day basis, that will allow you to get much further. And I think too many people cross lanes too many times. And I always say that everybody I follow on my Instagram, I'm inspired by them. I'm inspired by looking at them. I simply do not follow anybody who puts me down, who thinks, oh, he's got better genetics than me, or, you know, he's got a way better business than me, and it negatively puts me down. If I feel like that, I will say, one, he's not an inspiration to you. Two, you shouldn't be following him. Yeah, you should be following people, looking up to people, watching what you open up on your phone on a daily basis of things that's going to drive you forward every single day. Whether it's education, whether it's motivation, whether it's kind of looking at physiques that you want to aspire to be like. Make sure that it's, you know, it inspires you. It does not, you know, kind of derail you. I think that's a really big one.
You've done that incredibly well. And I really, really do hope that every single person understands that this applies to everyone. I feel like everyone looks at you and they're in this mindset of, you know, he's already at this level and that's why he thinks like this. I'm sure you had this mindset all the way back before you started, and that's why you got to where you are. People who are 30, 40, heavily overweight and want to just lose the belly to get rid of the fat and look slim and just feel healthy and confident. You can apply this to your life. You can really take this away and make sure that you're upgrading your mentality so you can get to that physique. Regardless of where I was at and where I wanted to go, I always looked up to people like yourself, bodybuilders, who are on that many levels higher than me, because I always say, you know, you shoot for the moon, you land upon the stars. If that's who you're looking up to, you'll at least get 80% there. If you go consistently, if you go aggressively and you really push into that, you will get 80% of the way there. And it's the self-limiting beliefs as to what you can achieve that really stop you on your way there. So for you, what kind of self-limiting beliefs do you feel you've pushed past as to what may have stopped you, and how did you really get past that?
Yeah, so like, you know, pushing past self-limited belief. One thing I want to touch upon as well is, you know, bodybuilding, you know, developing a physique, whichever one you want to categorize it under. You know, to me, it's very similar, where you physique development, lifestyle, bodybuilding, okay, it's building muscle. And one thing I always believe in when it comes to developing a physique has been the greatest teacher in my life, not just for developing a physique, for business, for overcoming setbacks, for handling emotions, all these different things. Because one thing it teaches you is discipline. And I believe if you have discipline for anything, you will be successful. And, handling, overcoming setbacks, and it's simply what you put in, you will get out. So that's really, bodybuilding as such has allowed me to push past so many limits that I've done in life, not just with physique, but kind of overcoming fear as well, like you said.
Yeah, this is something that I think everyone should be looking up to in terms of your mindset around everything, and it's something to be highly respected because of course this leaks into every area of your life, like as you mentioned, your business life, your personal life as well. How has things around family, friends all changed from when you started, where you're at right now? How do you really view all of this in your current position, and where do you see yourself now, and where would you like to improve on as well?
Yeah. So when it comes to friends, family, relationships, like we can speak on that. Like, first of all, I'm very lucky I have a supportive family in what I do, and they've always been supportive of what I do, from the football to the bodybuilding to the business. But one thing I would say, not everybody has that. So I want to kind of speak more on the people who don't have that, who don't really get that support. And I always think as long as if you have a dream, you have a passion yourself, it doesn't matter who supports you, because I guarantee when you're successful, everyone will support you. But the main thing is believing in yourself before you get that success. Like everybody knows, when you're successful, everybody wants to be your friend. Everybody knew you could have been successful. Everybody told you. They didn't tell you. No one was there following you on the journey. And you always remember the people who do. But not everybody has that. So I think, just have that kind of tunnel vision success of what you want to achieve, and, involve yourself around positive communities. Like, I've flown out here to Dubai, to do great business events, meet people like yourself, and it's involving myself in communities of like-minded people who have massive goals in life. Of course, I always have friends, family, etc. But when you can involve yourself around people with the same dreams, same goals as you, it does nothing but level you up. And then speaking on the friend side, when you kind of start off, if you're at a school level, if you're at a kind of beginner's level with bodybuilding, beginners level with everything, you always kind of create a friends group wherever you go. And I think a lot of people fear kind of changing the friends group. Like they feel like they must keep the friends that they, and it's not, I'm not saying put anyone to a side, but it's, in life things evolve, and life things transition. And what my goals were 5 years ago, my goals are very different now, of kind of who I speak to on a daily basis, who I involve myself. I never said put anyone to a side, but just don't be scared to evolve in friendship groups to make yourself better, like moving into mentors, moving into different coaches, moving into different friendship groups. Yeah, like be open to evolve.
100%. I think you can always respectfully understand and acknowledge that your values don't align with the people that you may have been around before, and know that you need to be around different people to make sure that you're getting to the next level as well, because of course you need to do what's in the best interest of yourself to help others as well. If you're constantly staying in the same place, it's very, very difficult to progress as well. And that's not me saying that you have to put anyone to the side. That's you understanding that your actual goals are going to change. So what are your goals right now? So I know that's a big question as well, and it's probably the cringiest one that you probably heard again and again. So what do you feel your vision is, and what you would want to achieve?
Yeah, so my goals now, I always kind of have the long-term vision plan. I always think having a long-term vision plan is very important, but in order to achieve the long-term vision plan, you must have short-term goals of what you're going to be working towards. What are you working towards in the next 3, 6, 12 months? And obviously, if you're ticking those boxes, the long-term goal is going to come around a lot quicker. So, like kind of the goals that I'm working on right now is, of course, the bodybuilding related. Continue to develop my bodybuilding, turning pro for me is a big thing. It's been a childhood dream is to turn pro. And, then in terms of, a big one of kind of my social medias, the content that I do, is just continuing to inspire, hundreds of thousands of people to be better, give them better education, give them some sort of free advice to better themselves, to become better people. And, like I say, if I can change one person a day to become better and wake up with a dream, that's what I want to do. And then in business wise, of course, I have my own goals with business wise of where I want to expand, develop. But, for me this year is a lot about just focusing on, bodybuilding, inspiring people, educating people, giving people that information that they never knew that can allow them to get to another level, and continue to grow the brand and the coaching brand and the name, the Team Empty the Tank name, and everything that I run.
You have some serious potential to take it all the way, which is something that, even with Charlie on the podcast earlier as well, we were talking about, like, you're probably one of the people that we can see really going really far as well. So if we go into the more tangible stuff that people really want to hear, like, what does your nutrition look like when it comes to day to day? And I know it's ever changing. And what do you like to look into when looking into, let's say, food choices? I know in your current goals and how bodybuilding looks, it is a lot more structured, right? And a lot of people struggle with just structure. But how did you really optimize for digestion, foods you like, what you can actually stick to sustainably for the long term? And how does that actually look like for you?
Yeah. And when, touching on nutrition, lifestyle versus bodybuilding, two very different things when it comes to nutrition. Like, bodybuilding is extremely regimented, bodybuilding is extremely, structured. Not everyone can do the lifestyle. It's very, living day to day. Truthfully, that is how I like to live. Like, that is truly how I like to live, and that's how I've always done it. Like, no matter how many food choices I can open to now, I like to just keep it simple, have a regimented routine, have my meals prepped every day. And it's how I work with everything, with tasks I need to do every day. Is just the basics. Like, I don't need like crazy different. But yeah, so like it's very kind of strict. My diet right now is not crazy high in calories, believe it or not. Like, I've been on like 7,000 calories a day of no cheats, like absolutely no cheats, 7,000 calories of clean. And let me tell you, like, that is a full-time job alone. But it depends, like, depending where you are with your physique, it depends how your food's kind of up or down. Right now, obviously, I'm here in Dubai. I would like to say I look half decent when I'm here, so I like to scale calories down a little bit to kind of get in shape, and then when I'm back home and things, I like to push them up, get strong, and build the size that's needed.
Of course, and I really do wish people would understand as well. This is what Brad likes doing. This is what his actual lifestyle is, and that's what it looks like for him. That doesn't necessarily mean that's what it's going to look like for you. And one thing I hear so often is, I want to go to the gym, I want to build muscle and just lose a bit of fat, but I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. Can you please explain that doesn't happen by accident?
I love this. First question. Like, a lot of people will come to me and say, obviously with my coaching, because I have a very big coaching brand, and Brad, I want to build some muscle, but I don't want to look like a bodybuilder. Like, I don't want to, be the size of you. I don't want to, look like such and such. And like, honestly, it does not happen by accident. You're talking about a 24-hour job here. You're talking about very good genetics. It's, I always say to a lot of people, and you'll see in the gym, you'll see like kind of like an Olympia bodybuilder or something. People are like, I would never want to look like him. Like, you could never look like him if you even wanted to. Like, that is a genetic elite of elite. And when it comes to building muscle, like, it doesn't always need to be bodybuilding related or looking massive. Like, I always say to people, like, when anyone comes to me and they say they want to build muscle, I say, what does that mean? He'd be like, I want to build muscle. I'd be like, but why do you want to build muscle? What does building muscle to you do for you? Like, and then they'd be like, I always say it to people, and I always want to bring this up in the podcast, is whenever I ask someone that question, he'll always say, this might sound stupid, but, and then he'll say, I want to look better in the top, or I want to look better on a night out, I want to look better for girls, whatever. And I would say, that is literally the answer I'm asking you. Like, that was the not stupid answer. That was the real answer, because that's why people want to train and build muscle. It makes you feel better, it makes you feel more confident, whether you want to go out, get to girls, whatever. Like, this is why people have a driving force to build muscle. It doesn't always need to be bodybuilding related or competing related.
Exactly. When people just want to lose the belly to be able to take their shirt off, they need to understand that everything in terms of concepts and the mentality and mindset needed to get to where Brad is can definitely be applied to your life, and needs to be applied to your life to at least get to a certain extent, right? And definitely, of course, that can be in a more flexible and a more enjoyable way for you. It doesn't mean that, what Brad does has to be 100% exactly what you do to get to that physique where, you are able to just go to the beach and be confident. That doesn't have to be the case. And of course, Brad's extremely good at actually building that out for people as well. And that's where he's actually gone into the whole coaching side of things. And of course, I do know that he knows what is needed as well to get to every level, because if you know how to get to a certain level, that means you've been at a certain level before, and the basic level of getting from A to B isn't difficult to explain or coach. Where if Brad is on the top of the top, getting 20% of the way there, where that's where you want to be to feel healthy and confident, isn't difficult for someone who is at that level to coach. They 100% have been there, know what it takes to get there. And of course, they've gone to more advanced level with where they're at. So
And you know, when you say like the top, like, to me, I'm absolutely not at the top. But okay, someone else might say, okay, like what you've achieved is amazing. I would love to achieve what you have, but you know, for me, I'm far from the top. That's why I always think it's very important to be open and willing to learn, no matter kind of where you've scaled to. Like where I scaled to from 5 years ago to now, I've got to change, I've got to adapt, I've got to look, I've got to be inspired by other people. And the people where I look at, they're at the top. And then then you speak to them, and they're not at the top. Someone else is at the top, and then someone else at the top. And you'll find, like, wherever through life, whether it's bodybuilding, business, or anything, there's levels to everything that you do. Like, what I feel like I'm at now is I feel like I'm miles away from my goal and I'm chasing it. But then someone else is looking at me and be like, I want to be like him. And then I look at it and inspired. I got mentors, I got business mentors. They're getting mentored, and it's crazy. It's like, and that's what is exciting about waking up every day. It's like a prestige, you know, you got to prestige up the ranks, and it's the same with everything. Like, that's what I love about living.
It's the absolute winner's mindset, you know, understanding and knowing there's always someone that knows more than you and is at a higher level than you that you can learn from, and really knowing that you want to get there and you know that you need the support and guidance to actually get there. So if we actually go back to, you know, where you're at with training, the biggest question I always get asked is, you know, how do you stay consistent and how do you get motivated to get training? I know you got to a point where, you know, it doesn't take motivation, right? But how do other people get there?
Yeah, so like I will speak of me and then I can speak for someone else. I always say this and it blows a lot of people away for what I do. Like, I do not train. The primary force behind me training is not to look good. It's not to look good. The looking good when I train is a bonus to my hard work. Why I train is because it gives me so much kind of mental satisfaction of kind of going in there, clearing my head, feeling stress-free. When you go in the gym, it's a stress-free environment. You can go in there for an hour and I can never get that feeling anywhere else. You know, when I can go in there and I can come back out, my day feels amazing, no matter how hard your day has been before you go in there. So that's a real reason of why I train. And when you apply the work outside the gym, you end up with a good physique. So, you know, I think kind of anyone who's struggling to motivate themselves to train, I think try to find a little, you know, everybody goes through stress, everyone goes through pain. I think try to use training as an out release for that, you know, as an outcome for that. And I think, you know, when you go in there, put your headphones on, get in your zone. Most importantly, have a plan. Like, have a plan. Like, the worst thing anyone can do in the gym is go in the gym and not be unconfident of what they're doing and not knowing, you know, kind of how to direct themselves around a gym for a program, because that's not going to improve anybody's confidence or motivation to train every day. You've got to see progress. You've got to go in there with a plan, go in there and make your own environment. And if anyone is kind of struggling with motivation, I would say, like, you only struggle with motivation is because you don't see enough progression. Like, you don't see enough progression, you don't see motivation. Like, I guarantee if you took your top off and you were seeing your physique progress every time, getting yourself bigger, getting yourself abs, whatever you want, you would not struggle with motivation.
100%. And I think the first step of that is always action. So when action produces the results, it gives you the motivation to take action again. And it's this constant cycle of needing a crazy amount of motivation just to get in there for the first week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I promise you, as soon as you go in consistently for 2 weeks, if you set yourself a target of going, let's say 4 times a week to the gym, or even if it's starting to train at home, just doing bodyweight workouts, whatever it is, you will feel better mentally, you will feel better physically, and you'll get to a point where you want to go again, and it's not a chore, right? And that's, of course, taking it 100 steps back from where you're at right now, but I think that's for 99.9% of the people looking to get into exercise and wanting to really build their physique, especially with a busy lifestyle and 1,000 things going on. That can be the most difficult first step for them, just building that momentum.
Yeah. And you mentioned a good point there. It's not a chore. Like, don't see it as a chore. And I always say to people, like, you know, I'm very big on the client transformations that I get the emotional trigger out of them. You know, like I mentioned about the building muscle. You don't want to build muscle. Why do you want to build muscle? To look better, feel better, look better in clothes, etc. And I would say if you feel like training is a chore for you right now, you don't understand your goal of why you want to train. Like, because if I was to tell you where you're at right now, of where you're unhappy with how you look, to how you could look, it then becomes not a chore to achieve what you want to look like. It's not a chore anymore. It's a drive every single day.
100%. Yeah, if we actually really push that into where that's really helping you in your personal life as well, how do you feel that mindset of like knowing that you just need to push past the initial barrier to become consistent. How has that helped you in your personal life, would you say?
Yeah, massively with everything. Like I said, bodybuilding is the greatest teacher, in my life. It's set me up to overcome a lot. Like I 110% would not be where I am today, still growing business. I would like to think better than ever if I didn't understand how to overcome setbacks, because like I ran into kind of a lot of shit in the way, a lot of roadblocks where I originally thought, this is it. Like it was only supposed to happen for 3 years or so. But again, like I said, with friendship groups, with everything, like you've got to be open to adapt in life. You've got to be open to move. What you were originally doing 3 years ago is not always the same road that you'll be on the next 3 years. You've got to be open to adapt and move. And that's what I did. And that's what's allowed me to kind of get there, yeah.
And I can imagine, I always say with like the people that get the furthest, they've also had the biggest setbacks and the lowest of the lows. People that have achieved the highest and have been at the highs have all been at the lows, and it's probably significantly lower lows than most people think. So for you, what was your lowest low, and what did that feel like? How did you overcome that?
Yeah, I would say for me is probably around when the COVID time hit was probably the ultimate lowest for me. COVID time hit originally at the start of COVID. I didn't have anywhere to train until we originally kind of snuck around the backs of things and then find ways to train. But originally I didn't have anywhere to train, and that kind of knocked me massively downhill. Not just me, everybody. I know it knocked everyone downhill because, first of all, it knocked everyone downhill with the training aspect, because I told you training, I don't train for a good physique. I train for how it makes me feel. And when that's get taken away from you, you then downward spiral a lot, and you kind of build yourself up in your thoughts. Your brain becomes a fog. So that. And then when COVID actually cleared and people got back to the gym, that's originally when I needed my next knee surgery. So I had my knee went again exactly after that, which is a long story short, it's like a cartilage wasting disease inside my leg. And my knee went again. So then I needed another, 4 months off from that point. So you're talking like, that's what I said, like I'm 23 right now, but I've missed at least 2.5 years of actual consistent training. If you add all the kind of 6 months back to back of either be on crutches, be for surgery, be this, and that's what I said. I honestly believe 99.9% of people would have quit by this point, or at least redirected to something else, doing something else, because they would just think it's not for me. But I've just been open to adapt.
What do you think helped you build that mindset into being adaptable and being open to adapt to all of
like what I think it's the people I involve myself around a lot. I'll say there's a good friend of mine called Tadas. He helped train me. He's a I would like to say he's a mentor. He's a good friend of mine. I see him as a mentor as well. And he learnt me the adaptation of training. He learnt me the adaptation of it's not all about just heavy weight, especially when you have injuries, when you have problems like I have. It's not all about being as strong as you can, because you're going to run into a brick wall very quick and you're going to end it before you know it. He learnt me how to adapt training, and it's building the trust factor. When someone tells a bodybuilder who's stubborn to change your training the way you do and start doing what I do, start training with tempo, start training with this, most people are like, shut up, like we're not doing that. And I did it. I trusted the guy at the time. He's a very good friend of mine now, and I trusted him. He learnt me how to adapt the training style, and then I started applying that in every different aspect. Like I believe if I can adapt my training, when I believe there's only one way to train, is more weight, and start to learn different methods, time under tension, all these different things of how you can develop a physique. I then just started to do other aspects of that around, not just, I'm using bodybuilding for an example of everything else that I've managed to outreach and outsource with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I'm assuming that's where you can really build the resilience to do it consistently again and again, being open to learning and always being open to change. Because I think people get stuck in comfort of doing the same things, and that's why they fail to grow. You only grow in your discomfort. You don't tend to grow in your comfort zone. And it's been said 1,000 times, but it's like living examples of this. If people have gotten to this level of doing this again and again and are still looking at how to grow and improve, it's really something to take away. So for you personally, what do you want to go into next, and how does social media content for you look like? Because of course that's something that's really interesting as well.
Yeah, and the social media content is a great one to speak about. Like in yourself, have a fantastic business. The business is growing. We all have kind of aims and goals of what we want to achieve. And I think from an outside perspective, first of all, people look at like, these guys make a living from social media. That must be amazing. That must be easy. Like, again, you probably agree, what I do on a daily basis is like a military operation of how we structure posts, from my you know, from my business mentors, from my videographers to my content creators, like you have a team, and it's like a military operation to do an Instagram account and post. Like I'm the only person on my Instagram account, but we have a lot of discussions at tables of kind of directions of things that we're going to take. One thing is not degrade the quality in service, to continue increasing the quality in service. You know, I always believe my brand is about quality other than quantity. And, you know, I always believe if I can turn over every single client transformation that comes to me, that is the ultimate goal. All right, it's like that is the realistic goal. All right, it might not always happen, but that's the ultimate goal that I strive for. So is, you know, continue to expand my name, which I believe we've done well, and then now start to, you know, employ and hire. So, and the reason I like to employ and hire now and bring kind of coaches inside the brand is so the quality will not dip. Like the quality in service will not dip, the quality in transformations will not dip. And I think that's important. And a lot of people say, but why? You know, why are you going to kind of bring someone else in the brand? And again, I don't want to mention names, but this is all kind of organized for the future. Is because like one person can't coach 100 clients. Like, okay, he can, but you're going to get a decrease in service, and it's not what I will ever do for anybody. You know, you come, you pay service, and you're going to get the rewards and the results for doing so. So yeah, is continue, getting back to your question, is expand, you know, continue to expand.
100%. And that's a huge thing that is, of course, worthy of respect, because you know for a fact that fulfillment is, people get so caught up in, you know, just the marketing, content, lead gen, sales, where they really let the product, the service drop. And of course, that's something that you're always going to focus on, because you want the best for your client as well. Yeah. Making those life-changing transformations and helping people on their journey. And that's what really brings about longevity as well, because people know that you're the person to come to as well when you want the help and you want a good service and you want to be taken care of as well. What can people expect with what you want to post, how you want to help people going further with the front end side of things, with the content?
Yeah, the content now is mastering your form and execution. If you're rubbish at form and execution, I'm going to be on your back. So it's a lot of kind of, you know, of course my bodybuilding journey is also there as well. I like to document my journey. That's what originally started me. But now is, you know, with the success that I've got, how many people can I now help be successful as well? You know, whether it's physique development, whether it's personal training, whether it's anything, because at the end of the day, it comes to achieving a good physique. And however you want to market yourself, it starts with getting a good physique of your own. Like, before you're going to help someone else, help yourself. Like, it's I always say, if you want other people to invest in you, you got to invest in yourself first. You know, so kind of, that is the ultimate goal for me at the minute, of kind of the direction which I'm going with things.
So I've also known Shauna, who is your girlfriend. Do you want to actually give us a little run through as to how you met, how that's maybe helped you in your personal life as well? Because I think that's an interesting topic that most people want to know, don't really understand about how big of a factor that is into your growth and development as to where you're at right now.
Yeah, I think having someone who supports you is a big one. You know, someone who supports you, your goals, and someone who can grow with you and develop with you, because like I said, it's development in life. You know, a lot of things change from what I was doing 6 years ago, and in my life, like, so much has changed in 6 years, from everything from bodybuilding to business to publicity to kind of going places and kind of being the face of where you need to go. It's pressure for the person who's with you as well, because not everybody wants that. Like, not everybody can deal with that. Not everybody wants kind of like a publicity type of thing of where you type your name into the internet and it's all over the internet, and it's, you know, it's the person you've with has to support that as well. So yeah.
Taking it all the way back, how did you guys meet?
It's quite funny how we met. I was 16 when we met each other, and how we met each other is the first gym that I went to at a local gym, and I was getting the bus to the gym because I was too broke. I couldn't afford a car. I wasn't driving, so I would get the bus every single day to the gym. I would leave the gym, I would get back to the bus stop again and again. Nobody likes really getting the bus. You always feel like you feel broke enough getting the bus. So she actually had a car because she's older than me. She picked me up. She would take me home, and I thought it was kind of a one-off thing. Every single day, she'd pick me up, take me to the gym, drop me back off. Like, so it was like a full-on detour every single time we go to the gym. And we did that for literally 2 years. Like, literally 2 years, a year and a half, we did that back to back every single day. It's just so I could just so I could get to the gym, just so I could train and develop my physique of what I wanted to achieve. And then, you know, eventually I got my car. I would owe back the lifts. You also owe back the lifts as someone who's give you lifts. And yeah, like, we've kind of developed from there. We've been all around the world together. You know, she supported me for all my shows. The whole Dubai thing now, wherever I go, I was in Vegas in December, Dubai now, be back home for a little bit in the UK, then, you know, back to Dubai. I'm always traveling around the world. And, you know, to bring her around with me, you know, to bring her on, to make her live like the life I want to, is for being supportive. you know, of trusting. It involves trust. You know, when you get a 16-year-old kid who tells you that he wants to achieve things, a lot of people are kind of in fairyland, and sticking with it, because believe me, like, there's a lot of shit that happens in order to get to where I am now. It's never sail smooth, and like, there's multiple times, multiple arguments, multiple things like where you fall off track. But yeah, like, honestly, someone who sticks with you, the least I can do is give them a good lifestyle now as well.
100%. And you know, this is something that I would, of course, like, consider a successful relationship as well. So what kind of advice would you give other people in terms of where they're at? What kind of, let's say, mistakes would you say people do make in terms of going into the whole relationship side of things?
Yeah, this is a really good one. I think a lot of people make mistakes when they go into relationships. First thing, they feel like they need to be in a relationship. You don't need to be in a relationship if you're working on yourself. I always say work on yourself, and you'll find the person that you're supposed to be with. Because what you do on a daily basis of, you know, whether it's training, whether it's bodybuilding, whether it's business, whether it's football, well, you name it, you just do what you do, and your partner should support what you do. Like, I speak to so many people, and so many clients say to me, like, listen, I'm going to have to quit, Brad. Why? Because my missus just doesn't support what I do. She feels like I'm putting in too much work, like this, that, and the other. Like, it should be supportive. Like, you should support them, they should support you. You should not have to change your vision, should not have to change your dream just because of the relationship you're in. Because, like, I don't like to speak upon it, but, like, to me, it sounds like you're in the wrong relationship. To me, it sounds like you can have someone who's more supportive. And then, you know, going on the factor of how do you get someone who's supportive, I believe, you know, I truly believe someone is given to you of what you do. So if that sense, I would say continue to work on yourself, develop yourself, build yourself, and I'm sure you'll find someone supportive in the same field as you.
100%. And I think people skip that factor and try and fill this gap in terms of what they want instead of working on themselves and developing themselves as people. And that's where you see the cracks later on, and you realize that values don't align and people are too scared to get out of that situation, or they got into that situation out of fear of being alone or being lonely. And that's where, you know, you may have troubles in the long term, whether people like to admit it or not. So where did you feel that you knew that this was something where your values aligned with your partner and that was something that you really wanted to pursue?
You know, it's the whole trust in the journey thing as well. You know, like, trust in the journey. You know, when you have a goal, you both support each other with each goals. Like, she helps me in many ways, I help her in many ways as well to develop as a person. And, you know, I just think that's a must when you come to find someone and be in an actual relationship. Like, I always say, there's millions of girls, but there's not many girlfriends. Like, there's millions of girls, and one thing, when you're successful, when you have money, when you have success, when you have anything, you know, everybody wants to be a girlfriend. Like, then I'm speaking on everybody. You know, like, anybody who's famous, anyone who's anything, like, everybody wants a, but there's not many girlfriends who's willing to go through the shit in order to get there with them. Like, I always say, everybody wants to be part of, you know, the outcome, but nobody wants to be part of the process.
Exactly. And, you know, you're, of course, very fortunate and lucky that, I would hate to say lucky, because you built yourself up to a place where you deserve that kind of respect and that authority in terms of not just your relationship, but what you actually get out of it mutually in terms of your future together, right? And for you, did you see this as a situation where everything just clicked from the start, or were there bits and pieces where you feel maybe you had to mold yourself? Because I know this is something that a lot of people do struggle with, where, you know, they have to mold themselves or they have to mold their partner into their vision of the future for themselves.
It's definitely mold. Definitely got to mold yourself in. And this is funny because we had conversations on this in the past. Like, what I do is very alien to the normal person. Mm-hmm. Like, why are you eating 6 meals a day? Why do you train every single day? Why do you stand on stage in trunks and tan? It's like, and then why do you know the business side now? Why do you work up to 16 hours some days? Like, it's crazy to the normal person. They can't handle it. But, you know, I always believe a good person will just allow their partner to go in and do the hustle, do what needs to be. But yeah, like I say, it's very alien what I do. So it's about molding it around that. And I always had a laugh, like, finding another partner who's not even in your field, to even try and explain again what you do and why you do it, and why are you going to the gym today, why you worked all day, why are you eating 6 meals a day. It's just like, you got to mold it all in again. So it takes molding in, but yeah. I
think that's something that people will always struggle to understand, but when they do, there's always two situations. People are, like, right now exactly on the same goal as you, and that's, you know, the straight line up and you're both working together on the way up, or it's a situation of, which is just as good, like having a cheerleader by your side supporting you and making sure that you're getting to your goals as well, because both ways get you there. It's just different paths as well. And as long as you're able to handle problems and understand each other's problems properly and communicate efficiently, then I think that's always setting yourself up for success. So is that something where you feel that you've had obstacles in the past with different situations that have come up where maybe there were misunderstandings where you both had to communicate your problems differently, or where do you feel that your biggest obstacles in building this into a long-term thing have come up?
I'm definitely no kind of relationship expert, but like I definitely think communicating is key. Communicating is key. If you both got a problem, a lot of people just don't say that problem, and then that small problem becomes a big problem. That big problem then becomes something extreme. So it's just like, saying stuff, and like a lot of people say, oh, like I shouldn't say this. Like literally, like we say whatever. Like it is what it is, and that's how you can kind of discuss things and overcome these things.
Exactly, and I think that's important for everything, right? Friends, relationships, just so you're not building up resentment in the long term and then it all implodes. And let's go for a real basic question, not basic for you, right? But something that most people want to hear. So what are your top 3 favorite exercises for your chest, back, thighs, tries, and legs overall? That's how it basically right? You love this question, huh?
I'm going to go with basics. All right, the basics.
Yeah.
I would say there's nothing wrong with the basics. One thing, that I want to say is like these days, think people overcomplicate a lot. Let me tell you, like the things that were happening 30 years ago, 20 years ago was not being broke. There's nothing wrong with them. When you do the bench press, when you do the deadlift, when you do a pull-up, when you do a dip, like all these things, there's nothing wrong with doing these exercises. And people try to reinvent the wheel when the wheel was never broke. So when you mentioned like, all right, chest, like we're going to speak about chest, to develop your chest, first of all, get strong at bench press movements, get strong at 2 heavy compounds, whether it might be a bench press, might be an incline press. And then, get very good learning how to control like an isolation movement, which can be like a pec deck or a fly, something that is a lot more isolated. We could potentially look at, I always say deadlifts are the greatest back builder if you do them correctly. A lot of people say deadlifts are dangerous. Deadlifts are only dangerous if you do them incorrect. If you do them with correct form and you don't have an ongoing issue, if you don't do them if you've got slip discs and stuff. But if you haven't got any ongoing issues and you do deadlifts properly, they're safe to do. Pull-ups, I think, are the ultimate back builder. I always say to people 2 things. I say to people, find someone who can do 15 reps of pull-ups for 5 sets back to back with bad structure of his back, structure as in the detail in his back, and then find me someone who can pull 5 plates from the floor, 6 plates from the floor with a weak back, because it simply just doesn't happen. If you can build yourself up to achieve these numbers and do those exercises, as a result of that you end up with a good back. And exactly the same, we'll do legs next. Like I will say, build strength and then learn how to put that strength to work. Like you find me someone who can squat 4, 5, 6 plates with weak legs. It doesn't happen, because as a result of building up to 4, 5, 6 plates for reps, you develop good legs. So for legs, we can speak about, kind of get good at squats, learn how to control things. Again, I would say get really strong at 2 compound movements, 1 isolation movement. So, kind of that's the best advice I could give to anyone looking to build muscle. That's really going to help you. And then most importantly is learn the foundations with everything that you do first. And that's something that I didn't do. Like I admit that's when I ran into kind of tendonitis things, hurt my rotator cuffs, potentially, ran into injuries that I could have avoided. Because a lot of people, when they start out training, you get any kind of young guy and gets in the gym with his pals, what do they want to do? They all just want to outlift each other. You're always going to get one guy who's going to be genetically stronger than everyone else, and everyone tries to lift the 50-kilo dumbbells that he's doing. It looks like his pec's going to hit the mirror. And it's like, learn how to scale back. Don't have an ego when you go in the gym, and learn form and execution. Learn how to control weight with proper form, and I promise you'll get ahead of all your pals in the future. Like you'll be injury free, you'll build strength, you'll build a proper physique. It's not, remember, I'm speaking about bodybuilding, not powerlifting. Like I'm not a powerlifter, but I can speak about body. So don't go in the gym with an ego. Learn how to do proper form and execution, and I guarantee in the long run, because it's not always about the short term, in the long run you'll outlift your friends, you'll look better than your friends, you'll build the best physique.
100%. And another one of those questions. For you, what have been the foods that have stayed most consistent in your diet for the past few years?
Foods, With me, foods, you'll always kind of get a category of foods that work better with everybody. But for me personally, it's kind of obviously running by certain meats that I like to eat, carbohydrates, fats, etc. When it comes to kind of carbohydrates that I like, I'm a huge fan. For me, my clients, everybody who kind of runs my programs is a lot of rice-based products. A lot of rice-based products you'll find most people can digest very well. When you kind of deviate out to other places, that's when you start to run into digestion issues, bloating issues. But you'll find 99% of people are good with rice-based products. And what I mean by this is kind of the basmati rice, the jasmine rice, the cream of rice, pretty much any rice-based thing. When it comes to meat, again, is being open with kind of what meat sits well with you. For me, more like the lean meats, the chicken, and then my fat sources from the protein is more like kind of steaks and salmon. And that's usually the three I stick with. That's usually the three I stick with. A lot of people is like, why don't you eat other meats than chicken, lean meats? There's plenty other lean meats than chicken. I just prefer to eat chicken. Like it's eat what works best for you. And then, fat sources, which I believe are very, very important, which is a big, long topic of why I like fat sources. But, kind of adding healthy fats, understanding what's an unhealthy fat and what's a healthy fat. A lot of people, when they see the name fat, they're like, oh shit, I shouldn't be having anywhere, and I shouldn't be touching this. Like, it's fat. Like, yes, fat does not make you fat, like as silly as that sounds. But, fat sources, look at things like your oils. Very healthy for your body as well. Your olive oils, your avocado oils, your coconut oil. You can get them from kind of nuts and all these things. But personally for me, my diet, I like to stick to around oils, nut butters, kind of like organic peanut butters and things. And that's where I like to get kind of fat sources from. But fats do not make you fat.
Yeah. A big thing that most people overlook as well, actually building up your HDL levels, making sure that you're really aware of what you're actually putting inside your body. And of course, like if you're trying to lose like 50 kilos and you're heavily overweight, then maybe make sure that you're having more voluminous, lower calorie foods, which are actually fitting within your caloric intake, of course, and making sure that you are losing weight. This is more actually making sure that you're progressing with your physique, you're having a structured plan of action with your nutrition and really knowing what to eat, right?
Oh yeah, I'm obese. Did you know? Like if I went for like an average BMI, like a whatever reading, I'm massively obese and very apparently unhealthy because you're obese. But then of course, it's BMI.
How's that feel? Looking forward to the end of your... No, you've actually built a serious amount of lean mass, and I do recommend, even if you're trying to just lose a heavy amount of fat, rebuilding the base of muscle. You're not trying to cut down into some skinny fat physique with no structure. Right? Building muscle should be a goal for everyone. That's a given. Making sure that you'll have some structure, have some strength, so you're not feeling weak. And that is something that I think that you've also been able to implement into other people who are going for similar goals. So what have you seen being the most common kind of questions that you've had from people looking to work with you?
Yeah, a common question is someone who, first of all, they see me cut down, they're like, how's he got so much muscle? The reason you've got muscle is because you've done the work in order to get the muscle. You've bulked up to get the muscle. I always say when someone comes to me, they're like, Brad, I want to build muscle, lose fat. Like, for starters, in certain extents, for certain small periods of time, you can do it. But I always say which one. Where are you at right now? Are you carrying belly fat? Because a lot of people who want to develop a good physique, and this is the best advice I could give you. If you want to develop a good physique and you find that you're holding a little bit body fat now, my personal opinion, what you're best at doing is actually cutting first. And because you get that kind of skinny fat, like the skinny fat look where you're carrying belly fat, but you still don't look big. And you actually better at getting rid of that belly fat, setting foundations, and then in order to build the structure on there. So once you kind of set the foundations, what it'll allow you to do then is scale your calories up, gain strength, gain size, gain muscle, and not continue to push on that belly fat. Because a lot of time I say to my clients or anyone who wanted to come on board with me is if I was to push your calories now and gain size with you now, all that's going to happen is you're just going to gain more and more belly fat. You might get more muscle, okay, but you're just going to gain more belly fat. Then what happens? We need to cut back. You do such a severe cut, you lose the muscle that you gain. So a lot of the times, scale back, set foundations, and then look to build, and that's going to get you the much better physique.
That's really, really good answers. A useful thought for most people to think about. That's the majority of people's situations, genuinely. So, yeah, and another question. You're, of course, very, very large in real life. So if you're listening to audio, Brad, if you look at his Instagram as well, you will see that Brad is an extremely large man. So how does that affect your daily life?
Yeah, like it is different, but of course, like you adapt to it. To me, I've been like this since I was like 17. doing bodybuilding, so I kind of knew nothing else. Of course, like, you won't see me running down the wing playing football anymore, but you can do certain things. Like, there's certain things you can do that, brings me a lot of positives. There's certain things that you can't do, but like the things I can't do, like, doesn't upset me. Like, I'll give you some funny examples. We're here in Dubai, skydive Dubai. I went to skydive Dubai to try and do a skydive. I'm stood at the desk, I stand on the scales. The woman just looks at the till and looks up. She was like, absolutely no chance. You're like 35 kilos over the limit. So certain things you can't do, like certain things. When I spoke to like my last knee surgeon, I was like, the knee's good. He was like, yeah, they're good, but I'm just going to tell you one thing: do not run. Like, run and your knees are going to be completely smashed. And it's just like, and the only reason behind this is not muscle, it's just weight. Like, when you heavier, when you got muscle, it's weight. And that's what I mean. Like, if you look at kind of a guy at 122 kilos at 23, it's an obese if you just look at the numbers. But until you actually see your physique, it's different. But of course, yeah.
100%. And in daily life, do you feel people look at you differently? I know you're probably numb to it right now, but when you were getting big as well, do you feel people looked at you differently, treated you differently as well?
Yeah, potentially, depending where you go. Of course, being big comes with certain things. Like, I would say to people, why do you want to get big? Gives you more confidence, gives you kind of more, like, you don't get picked on, like, when you're bigger. It's not why I'm bigger, but of course there's kind of pros that comes with it. So, and I believe that's what starts a lot of people to get bigger. Like, no one wants to feel small. You want to feel confident with your own body. You don't need to be bodybuilder size, but you need to be confident with your own body.
And I think that's what a lot of people are really striving for right now. It's kind of that validation for themselves to make sure that they're feeling good about themselves and they know that they're able to achieve it. But silently, I feel like a lot of people do want the recognition for getting to that big from external validation as well, as much as they want to fight it themselves. So making sure that you're also understanding that you can get to that point. Like, Brad did get to that point where he does feel confident, does feel healthy in himself, and people do recognize that and respect that. It's always an achievement worthy of respect, because it's one of the only things that you can't buy. You can't buy your way into physique. It's a status symbol of the hard work that you've put in.
Yeah. I also think body dysmorphia is a topic that really needs, and body dysmorphia is like, of course, body dysmorphia is pretty much, to no one who knows what it is, it's pretty much you never feel good enough within your own body. You're always chasing the next thing. What you started off now and what you are in 6 months is still not good enough for you. You're always chasing. So when it kind of comes to body dysmorphia, I think, and again, like, of course, everyone has it. Like, you probably have it, I have it. You look at yourself in the mirror, like, my chest could be way better, my arms are rubbish, but they're way better than they were 6 months ago. So, and I think understanding how to appreciate progress and understand progress will help with body dysmorphia. I'm a big believer in take check-ins, write down journals, write down books, see progression in your life. Like, all right, if you progress this much in 6 months, what are you going to progress like in the next year and a half? Like, see progression like this. So I think body dysmorphia is a big one, because you brought up the topic of, like, I feel confident within my own body now. Like, and that's kind of more of mental control than physical control, because a lot of people have great physiques, but they're unhappy. A lot of people have great bodies, but they're unhappy because they've not appreciated the progress they've not appreciated the progress. They've not took note of their progress. They've not documented their progress. Like, would you agree?
100%. I don't think that it's talked about enough as well, how big of a problem body dysmorphia, how prevalent it actually is in especially the bodybuilding space, especially in the fitness industry. I guarantee you 99.9% of the people in the gym aren't actually happy with their physique, regardless of how you may see them as to how many steps above they may be compared to where you're at. But for you personally, how did you overcome that, and how do you feel you developed in terms of building self-confidence within yourself and accepting that you're on a journey?
Because I didn't just, and I'm not now, I believe in mastering a physique becomes in mastering your mentality. Like, you got to master the mentality if you want to master your physique. Because like I mentioned, there's lots and lots of people who have a great physique but don't have the mentality to go with it, and they never feel good enough. So kind of how I kind of got past the body dysmorphia thing, which I'm not going to say I'm past it. I look at myself every single day and I see 5 things that I can improve on, but I don't let it dictate my emotions for that day. It doesn't ruin my day because I'm working towards it. And I think, like, overcoming body dysmorphia is improving your mentality more than your physical appearance. Like, honestly, like, you even get these girls these days who just, kind of, and I use girls for an example because girls speak about it a lot. They go out in leggings, they go out in short, like, vests, and they're not in the best shape, all right, but they're happy with how they look. And to me, I think that's amazing. Like, it's amazing. You don't need to be bodybuilder, ripped, shredded, like, amazing legs, amazing, like, to me, it's what makes you feel happy. Like, to what makes me feel happy, what I want to achieve, someone else could be half kind of they could be another 5% body fat from what I'm at right now and be over the moon. To me, that's overcoming body dysmorphia, not always feeling like you've got a rubbish physique.
Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that, comparison is a thief of joy, and that's been something that's been so heavily emphasized because of social media, right? And the level of average has become so much higher than it actually is in real life, as in 99.9% of people are actually at average, and the 0.0001% of people who are extremely above average are the people that you see on social media. So what kind of role has social media played in your life as to how you see other people, how you see yourself?
Yeah, I think social media, there's many pros, there's many cons to social media. I think a lot of people would agree. Going back to what I said, is the people that you follow, make sure they inspire you, make sure they motivate you. Do not follow the amount of people that bring up a post, look at something and be like, I feel shit about myself because I've just seen that person looking so good. It's not an inspiration to you, just unfollow them. Look at someone who say, you know what, this girl, this guy, I've followed their journey, they've done so well, they've overcome setbacks, I can do the same. Like, I can do it. To me, that's a person you should follow. So, social media, there's lots of pros. It's allowed me to inspire a lot. It's allowed a lot of people to inspire me. So I think, kind of be aware of what you look at on social media. Be aware. Also understand social media only shows the good things in life. It never shows the negatives. And to me, personally, I can speak. I do show the pros and cons of everything I go through. But I'm telling you, if you follow your biggest influencer, it's most likely just showing the cool stuff in life. It's not always that cool.
Exactly. And that's one thing that is really, really big to take away, that social media is only surface level, and you should really be looking for people that really provide value and help you in your life and in your journey. And speaking of, where can they find you on social media? This is something that we've been talking about for a long time and never really said.
Yeah, so, social media, my main platform is Instagram. So it's at Brad Willis, BradWillis 10. So Brad Willis 10 is my main platform. I have people being on my back non-stop about YouTube. I obviously used to do my YouTube through my sponsors, but obviously I'm going to be starting my own personal YouTube. I've got a videographer here in Dubai, etc. And I've just got my personal videographer now. So we're going to be starting a kind of YouTube stuff. Somewhat getting back, Instagram's my main platform. I want to start podcasts and stuff. I'm going to tell you, I don't do many podcasts. You asked me to do this podcast today. I thought, I'm going to stop being lazy. I'm going to go do the podcast, and I'm going to do it. But I could count on one hand how many podcasts I've actually done. So maybe setting up some sort of podcast thing in the future would be very cool. But Instagram's my main platform.
Love to hear. I came here and Charlie really pushed me into that as well with the podcasting thing, because he started it for the business side of things. But love to hear it. So I will update everyone as well when you're on YouTube, and of course really make sure that you do check out the links below for Instagram. And one last question to wrap it up. So what is the one thing about yourself that you wish that everyone could know but no one knows?
One thing I would say is I'm me. Like, I'm literally me. Kind of when I speak today, like, you'd think I kind of knew topics of what I do, how I speak. Like, you'll find, like, anyone, friends, family, girlfriend, have people close to me. Like, I always say, like, I'm literally just me with no script. Like, it's love or hate it. Like, it's just be you. And I always think, because a lot of people think like what you do is like, oh, he speaks up on all these topics. Like, it must have been at least scripted for the podcast. Like, literally, we met each other just at a business event, and it's just like, all right, cool, let's start the mic, start the recording, and see where it goes. So it's, just I am just me, like, wherever I go.
Exactly. We've only probably started talking and we've basically made this happen. And of course, he's opened up and shared so much value, and I really, really hope that you guys found this useful as well. So please do follow Brad. Brad is on Instagram, and if you want to keep learning more about how you can lose fat, build muscle, really improve your life, then stay in the community, follow, subscribe, and follow all of us on our journeys, and hit up Brad if you have any questions on how any of this works, so he can actually help you out. He's most often on Instagram to reply to messages. So thank you so much, Rav. Thank you for coming on. I appreciate you a lot.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.